You didn't explode. You didn't cause a scene. You didn't even tell them why. You just stopped replying. The group chat kept buzzing and you stopped opening it. Their names stayed in your phone, but you stopped seeing it as someone to answer. No fight, no dramatic goodbye, just silence, and somewhere, under the guilt, a strange kind of relief you didn't know what to do with. That's not coldness. That's protection wearing the mask of distance. Here are 7 signs you're someone who cuts people off completely, and once you understand why you do it, you'll never see your own silence the same way again. The first sign is that they don't fade out slowly, they disappear all at once. One conversation feels normal, and the next day the door's just closed. No warning given, no explanation offered. To everyone else, it looks sudden, almost cruel, like a switch flipped overnight for no reason at all. But inside, it never felt sudden. It was building for weeks, sometimes months, a quiet tally of moments that hurt just enough to notice and not quite enough to say out loud. By the time they finally go quiet, they've already said goodbye 100 times in their head, rehearsing the ending long before anyone else even knew there was one coming. Dr. Ethan Kross at the University of Michigan has studied this inner voice, the one running commentary nobody else hears. And for people who cut others off, that voice has usually been building the case for weeks before the silence ever shows up on the outside. The second sign is that it was never really about anger, it was about exhaustion. People assume cutting someone off is a punishment, a way of making someone pay for what they did. But for the person doing it, it usually feels less like revenge and more like finally putting down something heavy they'd been carrying alone for far too long. They gave the benefit of the doubt over and over, absorbed the small disappointments, told themselves it would get better if they just tried harder, until one day their body simply stopped being willing to keep doing that math. It wasn't rage that ended the relationship. It was depletion, quiet and complete. And nobody ever saw the accounting that happened in the months before the silence began, because none of it was ever said out loud. The third sign, and it's the one they'll never admit to anyone, is that they still miss the people they cut off. Walking away doesn't mean the feelings walked away with them. There are nights they see something that would have made that person laugh, and their thumb hovers over the name before they remember why they stopped texting in the first place. Cutting someone off was never about not caring anymore. It was about caring too much to keep getting hurt by someone who wasn't going to change no matter how many chances they were given. The distance protects them, but it doesn't erase the ache. And that quiet grief is the part they carry completely alone, long after everyone else assumes they've moved on. The fourth sign is that once they feel unsafe with someone, their body remembers it faster than their mind wants to admit. Dr. Stephen Porges at the University of North Carolina has researched how the nervous system constantly scans relationships for safety, deciding in the background whether a person feels safe or threatening before we're even consciously aware of it. For someone who cuts people off, enough betrayals or letdowns and their body simply stops registering that person as safe at all, no matter how much their mind wants to give them one more chance. So when they finally walk away, it isn't a decision made in a moment of anger. It's a nervous system that made the decision long before they did, and their mind is just catching up to what their body already knew. The fifth sign is that the people who did nothing wrong end up paying for the ones who did. A new friend takes a little too long to text back, and suddenly they're already planning the exit, already rehearsing distance before there was ever a real reason to. It isn't fair, and somewhere they know that, but the pattern runs deeper than logic ever reaches. Once you've been let down enough times, your brain stops asking who deserves the wall and starts building it automatically for everyone, just in case, whether they've earned it or not. The people closest to them right now are often the ones working the hardest to prove they're different, without even realizing that's the quiet test they're taking every single day. The sixth sign is that silence becomes their loudest form of communication. They don't announce when they're hurt. They don't argue. They don't ask for space. They just get a little quieter, a little slower to respond, a little further away, until one day they're simply gone, and the other person is left wondering what they missed. To them, the silence feels obvious, like they gave every warning sign a person could give. But warning signs that live entirely inside your own head were never actually warnings to anyone else. They were just the sound of a decision being made in private. The seventh and final sign is that underneath all of it, they're not actually trying to be alone forever. They're trying to finally feel safe with someone. Every person they cut off taught them something about what they won't tolerate again, and that isn't bitterness. That's growth. Most people never get credit for because nobody sees the work happening behind the silence. The wall isn't the goal. It's a temporary shelter while they figure out who's actually safe to let back in, one careful piece at a time. And the moment they find someone who proves that safety is real again and again, without needing to be tested for it, the same person who goes quiet without a word becomes someone who finally, for once, doesn't feel the need to leave. If you've ever gone quiet on someone and felt guilty and relieved in the same breath, that wasn't coldness. That was you finally protecting your own peace after giving away pieces of it for far too long. Tell me in the comments, who's the person you had to let go of to finally feel okay? And if this described you more than you expected it to, subscribe, because there's more of this waiting for you.